Reddit ask me anything. I'm a convicted pedophile. Ask me anything. As the title states, I'm a convicted pedophile or child molester. I am a 23 male who's been caught, convicted and am currently in therapy. I'm doing this with the approval of my therapist. I am turning my life around slowly but surely. The main purpose of this Ask Me Anything is to get everything off my back and to help and assist parents and others with recognizing signs that they should look for. I'm happy to answer any and all questions, but due to safety reasons I will not give out my personal information. But the things I can say is that my charge was solicitation of a minor through a computer or other electronic device and was sentenced to 17 months in prison when I was 21. I understand I will receive a lot of hate and some death threats, however I feel knowledge is power. To those people I only ask that take a moment to think about what you're writing. Yes, I even hate myself, but I did what I did and I can take that back. But if I can assist at least one parent or someone, then this is worth all the hate and backlash. To the mods, I will do my best to verify any and all information if requested. When did you first feel the attraction or desire towards a minor? Has this affected you growing up at all? If so, how? Thank you. Looking back, I would say the first feeling would have been around the age of 18-19. And the best way I can answer that question is that I now have a felony conviction for the rest of my life, and I also have to register with the Leos of my state US every 6 months for the rest of my life as well. If that's not what you meant, could you please clarify? But thank you. If you didn't really feel the attraction as a child to much younger children, then that answers my questions. Are you able to give any specifics on the crime you committed? I was messaging a 14-year-old male online for multiple days, no pics but did talk dirty, until his dad got a hold of his phone and told me to stop messaging. When I did not, the father gave the phone to the local Leos who took over the account of his and tried to get me to meet with the boy. They got some of my personal information through the phone, and a few days after getting the phone they had a warrant for my arrest. Why didn't you stop answering him when first threatened? Honestly, I don't have an answer for that other than I just didn't want it. I know that sounds bad, but I don't have any other answer. But you knew you could end up in prison, right? Didn't you care about that? Yes, or well, at least some jail time. Didn't know the full extent I could have gotten in trouble. If you're doing this for therapeutic purposes, then I think it might be worth considering the possibility that you wanted to be caught. Thinking back to when the father told me to stop and me proceeding on talking, a part of me wanted to, yes. I just wanted to say that it's really nice of you to allow these questions, which could help parents and children alike to notice signs and stuff with the electronic age. How's your therapy going? Is it like normal therapy, like just talking, or is it more of a focus on the pedophile part? Do you ever do group therapy? Do you still feel an attraction to adolescents? Have you met other pedophiles? What advice can you give to kids and parents about protecting themselves and their kids online from others? Oh dear, where to start? First, that's why I'm doing this, is because the type of help you get for these situations is primarily taught in schools, and it's just a boring PowerPoint for the kids. Parents don't realize the power the internet has and what can go on. Therapy is going good, I feel, and it's primarily one-on-one with the occasional group once a month. And no, I don't feel attraction to them anymore, as I have stopped talking to them, which helps keep any of those feelings down. Most of the other pedophiles I've met were in prison, though the others were in therapy. And now the big question. For kids. A. Don't give out any personal information because that will be used against you. B. If someone starts saying they want to get to know you, block them or delete them. C. Don't add anyone unless you know them in real life. And finally D. Don't post about any personal problems. That will once again be used against you. Now for parents. Don't buy your kid a phone unless they really need one. Number 13 years old needs a phone. Everywhere they go should have a trustworthy adult, and they should have your number memorized. Also talk to your kids and have parent and kid time. That is, board game night. If you don't give them attention, they will find that attention online. I'm sure I could give out more, but I think you got the gist of it. As a victim twice in my life of pedophiles, thanks for sharing with us. I find it quite interesting in terms PH psychology. Also, I can't second enough the statement about not giving your kids enough attention. That was my entire life. I am very sorry to hear that you had to go through it twice. I hope you help put them away. And I say that about kids needing attention because that's what it mostly came down to for me and them in my opinion. How does it feel knowing that, if they could, the vast majority of the population would purge you from existence? It feels selfish a little bit, I understand it, and when I first figured out that I did try to purge myself, but I couldn't due to reasons. I don't condone what you did and think it's pretty horrendous, but you're a human being and need to be less hard on yourself. You do not deserve to die and shouldn't ever purge yourself. Nobody is perfect and you aren't to blame for the way you feel. I'm not supporting what you've done at all, but it's literally not your choice to feel that. Just like mine is to be attracted to adult women. It was your choice to do what you did, however, but you are seemingly owning it and taking responsibility, which is great. You have a long life ahead of you and can't let this define you. You'll get over it and will find happiness again. Best of luck. How would you recommend people deal with a teenager attracted to much younger children to make it less likely that they'll act on it? The best way in my opinion would be to get said teenager therapy and to keep them away from younger children as much as possible, or keep an adult there to watch over them. Though this is all opinion. Hello, victim of childhood sexual abuse here. Since I'm someone who was, I guess, at the receiving end of shit like this, I would like to say that I appreciate you coming here to help warn parents to help prevent it from happening again. Really glad you're getting help. 2. A lot of people don't make that step, so to see you trying to make a change for the better restores my faith in people a little. What made you turn around and realize you messed up and that you wanted to change? Was it anything specific, or was it something you came to terms with over time? I'm very sorry to hear that, and I hope you were able to bring him or her to justice. And the tipping point was when I got arrested, or well, when I got the phone call from the detective telling me I had a warrant for my arrest. I turned myself in. I had tried to get mental help while in prison, however there is nothing that our state can provide unless I had done something way worse. Actually done something. And so during my time alone in solitary confinement I knew I had to become better. Had you not been arrested, do you think your relationship with the 14-year-old would have continued and possibly turned into something physical? Most definitely. The child was only a couple cities away, and knowing how stupid I was at that time, it would have progressed to something physical. Are you attracted exclusively to children? I was at that point of my life, however not anymore due to actively only talking to co-workers and others around me currently. I wouldn't think that attraction just goes away, or it would seem odd if it does. Therapy wise, I think accepting who you are and managing that would be more constructive than telling yourself those desires are just magically gone now. For me back then it was an addiction, and with therapy and my friend I know I can and will break it. Was there any event that you can attribute your desires to, or was it something you just felt and noticed out of the blue? It was more out of the blue more than anything. Hadn't really thought much until I took a look at myself one day. Good luck on your road to recovery. Glad you've committed to change. I am a victim of pedophilia. At the same age, 14, and of the same ways that you described. I'm about to turn 19 and am just now coming to terms with what happened. I get so angry when I think about what that consenting, grown adult did to me, even though I felt like an adult at the time. And I had gone through even more than some adults that I knew had. I was not. I was just a little girl. Now the thought of it keeps me awake at night. But there's one recurring thought that I just can't seem to shake. How does someone ruin a little kid's life before it even starts and get pleasure from it? I hope your therapy helps you. I'm very sorry to hear what has happened to you, and I sincerely hope everything goes okay with you. But to answer your question, only in my case, it was an addiction. And I know I'll get a lot of hate for this, that they wanted to as well as I did, and it seemed like they enjoyed it. Do you feel guilt, remorse? That's a hard one to answer as well. Yes, I feel remorse and I will get a lot of hate for this, but not guilt. Me and the kid were texting back and forth knowing the other's age, and that's one of the things I'm currently working in therapy. I appreciate your forthcoming honesty. I hope it helps you heal so that you can live a life free from harming others. That's also why I'm doing this. Not only as a way to let it go, but to also help others where I can, so I can contribute to society in a way. This kinda sounds like you are justifying what you did by saying that the minor knew what they were getting into. Minors aren't fully mentally developed, so adults need to look out for them and make choices in the minor's best interest. If you aren't feeling guilt about that, it sounds like you haven't really confronted the severity of what you did. I hope you can come to understand why soliciting a minor is harmful, even if you think they wanted it. How's your dating life now? Are you dating? Would you tell your so about your past? I don't have a dating life. Have tried though, and it's one of the first things I tell them because I can't go to multiple places because I'm now a registered sex offender and I don't get a second date after that. I'm interested, what kind of places are you no longer allowed to go? A lot of it is common sense, such as schools, daycares, parks etc, but also places where kids primarily hang out, amusement parks, roller skating rinks, while bowling alleys are iffy, but also places like Build-A-Bear and the Disney store. What would happen if you ever decided to have a kid yourself? How would you take that to school and stuff? Well, legally I'd be allowed to drop them off and pick them up, however knowing people it would be best for me to have my spouse deal with that. Hey, first off, I'm glad to hear you're trying to turn your life around. Are most convicted pedophiles, in your experience, genuinely trying to change? Because all you ever hear in the news is lock me away and throw the key. Thank you. And I believe that's just the news pulling out the bad ones for scare tactics. But some do try to change as best they can, however the options we have are very minimal that it is sometimes better to throw away the key. Why do you personally think you are the way you are? That's hard to answer. I was more into, and still am a little, the things that they were interested in, and that caused me to communicate more with them than people my age. What did you feel when you were talking to them? Was there a little voice in your head? A small feeling of, I know this is wrong but I just really want to talk to someone, to have a relationship with someone, etc. I watch this YouTube channel called Anxiety War and he does a great job of educating PPL on predators. It's interesting to see things from another perspective, especially from something as ethically wrong as pedophilia. I felt accepted, to be honest, which kept me going and going, and at first I didn't have that voice per se, but as me and them would start talking dirty I start getting it. I'll have to look them up, and each person's story is different. When I was in prison I had talked to multiple others, each ranging from actual rape to mom against dad. Do you believe that everyone deserves a second chance? Some, if not most, do deserve a second chance. Others who very actively do things knowing what they are doing is bad, I feel don't. So do you feel that you deserve a second chance? If you were to ask me that about someone else in my position, I would say yes. Have you been able to get a job? Yes, though right now it's only with a and past, although I'm constantly trying to go for something more. How young were the minors? Most of the ones I've talked to were between the ages of 13-15. Then I'm guessing that your time in jail was so short because of the fact that the minor that you engaged in had already entered puberty? Not really. It was only short because of two reasons. A. No explicit pictures were shared between us, and B. I had not met him face to face. If I had met him that would have gotten me, I believe, somewhere 30 months or so. Is there anything in your childhood that you would believe could have started this downhill path? Or you just woke up one day and was like, yep, this is me now? Also, who was your first crush growing up? I had woken up one day after going through my chat histories and realizing that most of them were underage, which did cause me to freak out myself, but I felt at that time I couldn't do anything to better myself because of the stigma around it. What was your own childhood like? Did you suffer any form of abuse growing up? My childhood was mostly bland. Never had any physical abuse, but I guess I did have emotional abuse from my mom from not giving me any attention. She worked a lot, but we kept moving around, so I didn't keep any friends for very long, so I was the loner every year of school. Video games, not online, and no social media was my only constant thing then. A lot of people underestimate emotional abuse and the toll it takes on children in particular. I know I did for a long time. It's interesting to see that you had experiences of being isolated. It's a pattern I tend to see with pedophiles. I hope you can come to terms with your past and live a better future. Thank you, and that's the first I've heard of that. I've mostly heard it's the physical cycle. I'll have to bring that up next time I see my therapist. Did the state of Florida ask you to do this? No, they did not, but they did ask if I wanted to be in a music video. Did people in prison know about your crime? If so, how was the treatment? They found out after doing a Cho-mo check, which they took everyone's ID and called out. However, knowing it was coming, I had requested protective custody and spent most of my time in a solitary cell on 24 hours lockdown. Most of the time you spent in jail, out of all the months, was in solitary confinement. In total about 6 months. The first 6 months were counted because I spent that time in county jail, and the last 2 were in a minutes level prison where other inmates didn't care and were only worried about themselves and not about getting into trouble. Do you think this as a mental illness, something like addiction, or just something that you were born with? In my case, which is the only thing I can speak on, it was an addiction. I talked to one and I didn't get in trouble. Then there's no harm, right? That was my thinking for most of the time I was talking to them. Now I'm sure there are others who feel it's something that someone is born with, but I do not. I felt it was a choice. What age gap will make you a pedo? I know a 20Y guy who dates a 16-year-old. Now that answer changes from person to person. To me it's an adult going after a minor purely because it's a minor. Now I can't say anything on that relationship, but did they meet in high school? Or did they meet online? How was your welcome to institutionalization? The first few days went so bad, until some gang member decided to do a Cho-mo check, at which point I had put myself into protective custody. What does Cho-mo check mean? Child molester check, and that's where a high-ranking gang member would take everyone's ID and call out to a buddy or family member who would then use that information to look up each inmate to see why he's in prison. What would happen when they discovered about you? I would have to go into a cell or into the shared bathroom shower and had to have 4 to 5 others at the same time who could have weapons on them. Do you still think about him, the 14-year-old? Every once in blue moon. But only to wonder how he's doing and how his life has changed. Do you think that what was going on between you two was or would cause him harm? How? At the time, no, I didn't think it would have caused him harm because we were both involved and knew each other ages and other things, but now yes, I feel I was harming him of potential feelings and forcing him into situations he shouldn't have been in. What do you mean by potential feelings and forcing him into situations? No young teen should be texting an older guy saying he wants to meet in person because you care more about me than my family, and I feel now I was helping those feelings along. You believe you were somehow distancing him from his family because he needed affection and decided to look somewhere else, and you were giving it to him. Have I got it right? Exactly. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.